This program has been made possible in part by the following sponsors: David and Mark Goodman, the Vancouver Courier newspaper, Vancouver lawyers Dumoulin Boscovich, When rap and hip-hop music emerged some years ago, for many of us, that was the day the music died, with apologies to the other guy. And of course, that's not really true. Music has continued, of course, in its myriad forms all around the world. But for many of us, the question remains, where has all the music gone? There must be new generations of people making terrific music, or how could we all survive? Because what's a day without a little Mo, as in Mozart? Well, Jonathan Fluevog is a local producer and a fellow who owns a recording studio, puts on events and so on, and he'll be our guest in just a moment and tell us all about the current state of the music industry. But let's begin by taking a look at one of his favorite groups, and I've brilliantly just lost my note. Oh, there they are, the Matinee. And the Matinee are a group from BC, from Coquitlam, and they travel all over the place and play in many different venues. But this is a group that, for whom Jonathan has a special feeling. Let's take a quick look at one of their videos.
I don't know where I'm going there with you. I don't know where I'm going there with you. I don't know where I'm going there with you. I said I love her. I said I love her. Oh, it's too late to surrender. Oh, I think we've lost the fight. Oh, the devil's gonna take.
Jonathan Fluevog, great to have you here, sir. Now, tell us about the Matinee. Do these folks belong to a category? Is this folk rock?
It's folk rock.
Yeah.
The Matinee are a band that have toured the country like 7-8 times. They've been around for years. They've known each other since high school. They're in their 30s now, right?
Yes.
And they've been really working the industry really hard, and they've been really just developing what they've been doing for so many years. And finally now, they're at this point where they're actually getting noticed for what they're doing, and it's taken that long. So contrary to popular music belief, with what the hype tells people and what the reality is quite a bit different.
What is the hype? The hype is you can be a star overnight?
Yeah, the hype is American Idol. The hype is
X Factor.
Yeah, all of that. The hype is way before that. The hype is that if you have talent and you're just talented, people come out there and they'll get behind you, right?
Forget about it.
Yeah. And there's a Texan with a big cigar and a big hat, and he goes, you know, I like your style. And thing is, I'm going to take your mansion on the road behind us on a flatbed here. And so you got people believing in that dude, that there's that guy.
Enter the Everly Brothers stage right singing Dream.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got people that believe that. That's not true. There's no reality to that. You're not going to be discovered overnight. And if you are, what you've signed in your contracts for that privilege, you probably will end up with nothing. Because it's easier to make someone appear to be a star than actually make the money. So, like, there's a show called MTV Cribs and all of that, where, you know, they show people where they live, these stars. Well, the whole place is staged. You know, it's a rented house. It's just staged. And, you know,
have you seen any of X Factor?
Yes, I have, actually.
It's become an obscenity. I mean, people wonder what Occupy Vancouver, Occupy New York is about. And you see, what's his name, Simon, lounging like a pasha in front of his palace. And some poor black person, 42 years old, with 2 children living in a little flat somewhere, is weeping because this means the world to her. I mean, the disparity between that contestant and this guy is disgusting.
Yeah, that's very well said, actually. It's a good thought.
Is that the music industry?
You know, if you don't write your own songs and you're relying on other people to write your covers and all the rest of it, you know, then you have to rely on so many other people. These are people that would never get out there under their own gumption whatsoever. They would never be out in the, you know, at clubs. They would never be out touring. They'd never be out, you know, doing stuff. They wouldn't even have a website of their own music normally, right?
Yeah.
So this is their only hope, you know, and they don't normally have a hope in hell anyway.
If you, Jonathan, if you picked up something like Daily Variety or whatever, or Billboard or whatever the music sheet is of the day, would there be a consistent message in the last 6 months or year about the kind of music people are looking for?
It's so varied now. There's no consistency. Everybody likes everything. You know, years ago, right, in the 80s, you'd talk to a kid that liked metal music, and you knew that's what he liked. He loved metal music. Rap kids, you mentioned rap. Well, they were, you know, they had a look to them, right? Fashion followed rock and roll had a style, and rap had its style. Everyone's got a style. Now it's a hodgepodge of everything, and everyone listens to everything. And so you don't have a serious flow or trend going. You have just sort of pockets, right? And people burn through music so fast now on their iPod. What you have is somebody listening to something and they go, this is great, it's the greatest thing ever. And a friend says, yeah, I've just been listening to this album. They go, oh, that's 4 weeks ago. Oh,
4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's
it's
funny.
like, who cares, right?
Yeah.
So what we have right now is we live in a time when it's like there's just so much background noise. We're being there's an onslaught of junk coming at us. And so you've got all this media, you have all these artists fighting for attention. We have more music now, in my opinion, than we've ever had before. We have more people playing instruments with keyboards, singing into laptops, mics, and, you know, just whatever.
And when you consider that anybody with an iPad 2 can compose and play.
iPhone, anything.
Yeah.
Like I saw this video of, you know, all these guys with their iPhone 3Gs or whatever it is, and, you know, they're making songs, right?
Exactly.
You know, with Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Well, you have all these people doing that, and you have so much more music out there, and so many people trying to promote their music and push their music, that what does a common person want to listen to? None of it. People just opt out.
The image of the Brill Building in New York, where the not Jerome Kearns, but you know, who's that group I interviewed once? These two guys, the two great Stoller and Lieberman and Stoller, you know, who wrote all these great songs for doo-wop groups and for Elvis and so on. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, where Carole King hung out. Okay. That image it's history. It's gone. We'll never have that again. No. Music located at a physical site, right?
That's long gone. And you know, you don't have epicenters as much anymore. You can't say like New York's the epicenter and you've got LA and then, you know, got Nashville. You have pockets, you have bits and pieces, but you don't have the same thing anymore. That's changed, right? So now you have everybody creating music, everyone's got a website and everyone's promoting their music, and your common Joe goes, music? You're a musician in a band? Oh, so and automatically they're thinking
you eat much?
It's like you do some bad music, right?
Yes.
You know, so when you actually do good music and people enjoy, and you're doing music that connect with people, you automatically are standing out a lot more than everybody else right away these days. But you still got to get through the media onslaught of everybody.
Tell me what the business model is today and how it's different from 20 years ago.
Okay, well, the business model now is, years ago, what you could do is you could have somebody on radio, then you get them on MTV or Much Music, and you go, okay, so a promoter would in a town would go, okay, that means we're good for about 1,200 people to come to this show because they've got this much play behind them. Well, guess what? Now here we live in a day and age where you have the radio playing, you got the video play, and you get 200 people who show up. And you've got bands that maybe 15 years ago would never tour, you know, smaller places. They're touring across the country, Canada this is, playing high schools.
Look.
I mean, that's different.
Look, a month from now I'll be 69 years old. Last week I discovered Bruno Mars. You know, Bruno Mars. I think this guy's a genius. I think he's sensational. He's unbelievable. You know, he writes these great songs. He sings them beautifully. He's got a big range, a lot of variety. And this other kid that he's recorded with, I forgot his name. I Want to Be an Effing Billionaire. That song. I mean, that's a great song. Okay. How do these guys I've seen them on YouTube.
Okay.
How did they get there?
YouTube is the biggest way for people to discover new music right now. That's how people listen to music practically these days.
Yes.
A lot of people, instead of buying an album, they'll just fire on the YouTube and listen to an album that way, or listen to songs that way. So you have all these people trying to do clever videos, right? So the more clever and more interesting you are, the more they'll go viral and the more people watch them. But everyone's trying to be clever with these videos.
So if a video goes viral
Yeah.
and has 8 million hits or whatever,
Yeah.
does someone in a studio like you, or does someone in LA or Branson or wherever look and say, phone that guy, find that kid?
Sometimes. I mean, what was that girl? There's a girl that had a teenage fun song not long ago, right? And I mean, that's actually what happened. And she got a record deal. And everyone goes, wow. And you know, here my first thought was, great, you have a record deal. That's the starting gate. A record deal doesn't really mean much. That's just the starting gate. Now, once you're released to the mass public, well, they keep buying your stuff. You know, we live in a time when you don't have to be good at something to be a celebrity anymore. That's really different.
Yes, but in music, yeah, you don't have. That's true. You don't have to be good. You need lots of other things. But for staying power, you have to be good.
Absolutely.
Because
well
the
said.
people who've stayed, whether you like them or not, or they're to your taste or not, I remember many times going to concerts of people who've been around for 25 years and thinking, oh, this will be. Why did I? You know, I got free tickets, and then they blow me away, and I go, oh, there's a reason this guy's been around 25 years.
But those are the people that have talent, charisma, and a little bit of business savvy behind them. And they're the people who write songs that connect with people. They're not people who just get up there because they're trying to make a quick buck. They're people who are up there because they love what they do and they're passionate about what they're doing. That's such a big difference.
I think that's a good description of you, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about you and your world here in Vancouver. Our guest is Jonathan Fluevog. He's a music producer and has his own studio. Vogville.com is his website, which we've been showing on the screen a number of times. And we'll show a bit more after this little break. Remember, davidberner.com is the site to go to for emails and other activities. And we take this opportunity to thank all those nice people who provide some support to keep us here on Shaw Community TV, Channel 4. KCM Wealth Management. Vancouver lawyers Dumel and Boscovich. The Vancouver Courier newspaper. David and Mark Goodman. Jonathan Fluevog, local music producer, and we should say that his recording studio has been picking up some awards. Last year, it was the Studio of the Year, won the award by the BC Country Music Association. And we're pleased to tell you, I think this is a bit of a scoop, that he's now been nominated again for the 2011 Studio of the Year. One of his favorites, one of Jonathan's favorites, is a guy named David Boxcar Gates. Have a listen.
What he does for the love of it. Something rare to come across these days. No hype, no frills, no gimmicks, just him. He's an artist that I had a chance to be in the studio with for a day not long ago. And what struck me about him was the sincerity, the honesty behind him, just who he is. He's a genuine person doing genuine art that he loves to do. I hope you enjoy this segment.
Yeah, he's got a nice sound. Now, what is it other than the chemistry? Other than I like that guy. What else is it? Why do you work with a guy like that?
Because what he has is he has a sense, he's genuine as a person. You know, when you watch the video of him, you're seeing the sincerity. You know, I say in the overdub in the video, I say whether he plays to 2 people or 1 million people, it doesn't matter. That guy would play to anybody. He doesn't care. He's not doing it because he's going to make a living. He's doing it just for fun. He gets to go to Europe, open for people and play in front of like 100,000 people.
Right.
He doesn't care. He's up there just going, I just got up, I just played my music. He's more touched by people coming up to him saying, you know, this song of yours, it really impacted my life in a way. That means that he's writing music that's connecting with people. And that's what it's all about. He's writing music that connects with people.
Now you've used that phrase several times, so obviously it's an important one to you, but what do you mean by it? I mean, I can tell you, Tony Bennett just released his new Duets 2 album, and it's already gone right through the roof, which has blown his mind. He's 85 years old.
I listened to it, by the way.
Yeah, he's great. The opening number with Lady Gaga is sensational.
Right.
But I know, sitting in the front row at a club, having Tony Bennett sitting just about where you are, singing, I actually started crying because he connected so deeply with me in a song. I was blown away.
That's connecting with somebody. If an artist can get up there in front of 1 million people or in a small club and just connect with people by the way they move, by the way they engage the audience, by the way they sing. Like a lot of people, you know, so we have tons of pop songs on the radio. The pop songs that connect with people are the ones where I believe the singer what they're singing. I believe that they believe what they're singing. And that's what's so important. When I'm in the studio and I'm producing somebody, I look at them and go, I don't believe you. And they go, what? I go, well, I don't believe you. If I don't believe you, then you're not going to sell anybody else. I'm a hard critic. You better get me to believe you, then you're going to start having other people. If somebody can do that in a live sense, or a band can do that and connect with the audience right there, now we're talking. That's the difference.
Yeah, it may be hard for people to believe or accept that rock stars, the good ones, are as great storytellers as old-fashioned ballad singers like Bublé and Tony Bennett.
Right. They have their own space, you know, and they're telling a story in a different way. Now, we live in a bit of a different time as well with the fact that now people want to know who the artists are. They want to know your story. So if you just come out with a bunch of rock videos, people aren't that interested. It's just a bunch of rock videos, right? Now, if you come out with behind the scenes stuff and videos like David Gates, where you get to know the person, you get to get a feel for who he is, sell the person, then sell the music. That's my motto now. That's what I'm all about. I'm like, people don't care about music. Music's expendable. It's on everyone's phone. It's on everyone's. It doesn't matter. It's just here today, gone tomorrow.
Check out my ringtones.
It's done, right? But what has meaning? People. People have meaning. You know, we're here at a talk show talking together. That's because there's meaning to people. And it's more interesting to get to know somebody than just a bunch of fluff music with a bunch of hype behind it.
Tell me about some of the other things. I know that you're a busy guy and you work on a number of platforms. So you got the recording studio.
Yes, I do.
And you're very happily winning awards for it. Why do you win awards for it? What is it about the studio that's so great?
What it is I created an environment where people are free to be creative and do what they want to do. So I don't have just gray walls. I have it very, you know, you can see there's tapestries on the walls. There's a vibe that's sort of medieval / mixed with who knows, right? A bunch of different stuff.
Right.
And it's a real vibe, and it's an atmosphere where you shut the door, you lock the world out. Also, when you walk into my studio, I don't have gold records all over the walls. I don't have Juno Awards all over the place. I don't have those things because when you walk in, the studio should not be the star. The person's the star. And that's what I want people to be able to feel like. Like, I'm here, I can put the world aside, and I'm the star. I'm the person.
Now, you've also created events. You had a day and night thing going on last year.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, what was all that about? 12 bands?
Yeah, I had 12 local bands playing one day at the Vancouver Alpine Club.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone kept saying, Jonathan, you're nuts. You're going to have a headlining act, right?
Yes,
it's just going to be crazy. You'll never get any press. No one's going to talk about it. It'll just be a disaster, right? Well, I said every band's the headlining act. They each draw about 200 people on average. You know, why not just throw them them all together and do a festival out of it, and focus on bands that are hardworking and really want to get ahead and aren't waiting for the dude with the cigar at the Texan.
Now, when I read about that, about the Day and Night Festival and 12 bands, the problem that struck me was the setup. How do you get, because I've watched bands take hours to get their darn equipment organized on stage, and it would, as an audience member, it drives me crazy. So were you able to streamline that, get one band out of there and get the other band on?
Yeah. Well, the guys at the sound company were really good, which is Rock Shop Audio, and they were awesome. They, you know, they had this burly guy, and he's like, "Get off the stage, next guys." You know, they're like right on it. Oh yeah, they're like, "Move," and some guy go, "No, but I want to set up this," and they go, "No, you're not." And it was great because we got everything moving. There was there's one drum kit that they all shared. There was one bass rig and one guitar amp and, you know, stuff like that. So they shared gear.
Does anybody come to you and say, "Jonathan, there's somebody I think you got to meet, somebody you got to hear"?
All the time. I get it weekly, maybe even daily actually. I get it all the time. And most of the time when I listen to it, I go, okay, they're okay, but they don't grab me. And you know, this is something about what people don't understand about the industry, is that you can teach somebody to sing and dance and play puppet and do whatever. You know, you can do that. It's true. That's kind of what they are. They're like little puppets. And now you can teach people to do that. That's fine. I mean, they just become good actors for what it's worth. You can teach people to act. You can teach people to be acting pop stars. What you can't teach is the connecting with people and the charisma. You know, you can't teach those
now,
things.
what if someone brings you somebody and you say, "Oh my goodness, this is the genuine article."
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You want to make a zillion bucks? You have a plan for a person like this?
Okay, so this brings me to, you know, I do have all sorts of people contacting me, right? And I go, okay, so what do they have? So you've got a level of talent, you've got some charisma, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any business savvy?
Yeah.
Chances are no. I mean, out of every person that you meet in your day-to-day life, how many people do you meet that are entrepreneurs? I mean, you know, if you talk to 100, maybe one.
In the acting business, for example, in theater and in film, there's a rare character called the actor director.
Right.
That's a very rare person who can act and run a company at the same time.
There you go. Okay, so it's rare, and now we're talking about you need to be that in an artist these days to succeed, to really even move anything forward. So I meet with them and I go, you know, what are your ambitions and what do you want to do? And you know, most artists don't really know what they want to do, or they'll tell you this is absolutely what they want to do. No question about it. I want to do it 100%. But they've never done it. How can you really say this is what you want to do if you don't know? Just like kids going to school, right? College. They take one course and then they take another course, and then they end up in university, and then they go over here, and then they end up working at TELUS. So because they go one place.
We've got about 2 minutes left. What's your business plan for Fluevog, for Vogville, for the next 12 months? Where do you want to be 12 months from now?
12 months from now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to emerge the Vogville Presents series, which is really important to me because that's my recycling program. That's artists pay me money, and I recycle the money back into them by doing these videos. I'd like to see it on television. That's what I'd like to see move forward with it. That's the goal. That's why they're 22 minutes long right now. And I'd really like it to be out there.
They're on the internet at the moment.
Absolutely.
But you want to see it on TV?
Absolutely.
Anybody interested? You got some feelers out?
I'm developing a lot of stuff right now with it. And so I'm developing slowly. I'm taking my time because I want it to be right. And that's why I'm finding people like David Boxcar Gates that I'm going, this guy is great. You talk to him, you get a feel for him.
Yeah. But it helps that you come from a family who are entrepreneurs.
Yes, it does.
Because you watched it. You watched your dad's shoe business.
I watched my grandfather, my dad, all of that. And that's where I got a lot of sense of really moving forward and what it takes to move forward and ambition behind me.
Yeah. Do you have a bad day?
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have tons of bad days. When nothing goes right.
And in spite of that, You still love it. You love the whole business.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's not that you get kicked down.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the lesson you learn from being kicked down.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I through that festival, I ran into a lot of obstacles. When I
Yes.
did these web series, I ran into a lot of obstacles.
course.
Now I'm going, okay, what am I going to learn from those obstacles?
You
and
know,
apply?
we should put up neon signs all over the world.
Yeah.
For kids who are interested in show business. It's an obstacle course.
It is.
All of showbiz is an obstacle
And you
course.
probably wipe out a few times.
Yeah, radio, TV, the movies,
Yeah.
the stage, music, whatever. It's a huge, and anybody who makes it has, I believe, the single most important quality is perseverance.
That's a large one.
You just keep at it, right? You just keep driving.
And that's where the business savvy kind of comes in. Because through perseverance, you learn a bit of business savvy as well. If you don't start with it, you're sure going to learn it. And if you don't, well, you're in trouble. But there you go.
Yeah. So vaudeville.com is your website?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and Vaudeville Presents is on the website?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Jonathan, best of luck.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. You know, I think anybody with any sense at all just loves music in almost any form. So anybody who's involved in doing it is kind of blessed. You're kind of blessed. You're in a crazy business, but it's a wonderful one.
And I feel blessed. I feel really, really fortunate that here I am doing something that I love to do.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, that's it for us next week. Next week the studio is dark. We're doing some other stuff here, candidates. So we're running a rerun of a show we did only a couple weeks ago, but already has over 1,800 hits on YouTube. Steve Kaufman was here a couple of weeks ago and talked about diversity, language learning, and immigration. And he was wonderful. It was a hot show, so stick around for that one. Great to have you here as always, folks. And thanks again to our friends here at Shaw Community Television Cable for tonight.